Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant.
We viewed receivers as burglars breaking into your house. So if you catch a burglar breaking into your house, he paid the consequences. From the opening bell to the closing bell, you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit hard, and you're going to get hit consistently. We wanted to leave them with an impression that, hey, this is not a contact sport, this is a collision sport, and that's what we did. We made collisions with our receivers.
I mean, they want to say the Raiders are dirty. Yeah, we're dirty. Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
Our intro was taken over. It is officially Raiders Week, and we couldn't do it without our good friend, the Hitman, George Atkinson, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man, do I long for those days.
George, we just for you, buddy, just for you. You got to admit, I mean, my God, all these years we've been friends with you, and the love has never been stronger. Come on.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess, after Sunday, right?
Yeah, our love is strong, definitely. But as far as the competition, I don't know about that. You guys have dominated us for quite a while, I must say.
I don't know. Our last loss was to the Raiders on Christmas.
Yeah, well, hopefully you get a loss this Sunday.
Hit him, Lance.
George, first of all, man, it's an honor to talk with you. You know, the thing I asked this question to former Chargers Lorenzo Neal about the home environment and moving from one place to another. Sure, it's a bigger, more expensive stadium, but it feels like it loses a little bit of that luster of what brought, you know, yesteryear, what made yesteryear so charming. And now that we know that, you know, you have the Raiders out there in Allegiant Stadium, and it's in that big old Roomba out there in Las Vegas. It looks cool, and it's great for the tourists, but it lost what the Raiders Stadium used to be about, the black hole. I don't know if you've been out there or not yet, George, but I know that you were out there in the black hole, and there was something significant about the tension, the violence, the vigor. You know, the fans it was such a tense atmosphere. I feel like that's just completely gone now. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like that might be a reason why the Raiders Nation's kind of hurting right now?
I kind of feel like we have lost that what we used to call mystique. I'm there at every game. I still work with the organization, so I'm there at every game, and there's something that's missing from in the days when we played in the Coliseum. You got to keep in mind that was our first stadium. The fans were used to it. It was hostile. Fans were aggressive to a certain degree, and they loved the Raiders. That's why they called it. The fans named it the Black Hole, and they participated. And we as players, I mean, we adopted that, and we adopted the fact that, hey, you come to the Black Hole, you coming to get your you-know-what whipped. Can I use the word I want to use here?
Please.
Yeah, well, you're going to get your ass whipped. It's about BTA, beating that ass. And that's what we did. You know, we took no prisoners. And that's how we play. I mean, teams would come in and by the second half, hey, they would already surrender, you know. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that the Raiders' mystique was the fans. They were part of it, and they participated loudly. They participated with energy, and they participated in beating that ass, BTA.
That's great.
Well, George, as we head into this game here on Sunday, of course, the Raiders are dealing with a little bit of some quarterback issues. Aiden O'Connell now down with an injury. Gardner Minshew start of the season, and we'll probably have to play Sunday. And then the team signs Desmond Ritter. What do you? I mean, as the Raiders go forward here, Devontae Adams is gone; he's been traded. What do you see as sort of the ceiling for this Raiders team and kind of what they want to accomplish under Antonio Pierce here this season when the wheels are already kind of starting to fall off here, especially at the quarterback position?
Well, when you really look at it, the wheels have fallen off, and we gotta make some decisions. We definitely need a quarterback. We have the absence of a quarterback because of what happened to O'Connell on Sunday, breaking his thumb. And we got to come up with some answers. These guys who are left on this team, they have to step up, and they have to step up immediately. This is not a next year thing. If we lose one more game, we're out of everything, and it's like we need to start rebuilding almost in the middle of the season, and it's a do or die situation right now for the Raiders.
You know, George, thanks for taking the time with us again this evening. Appreciate
always.
Appreciate your friendship with Noah and Clint. My friend, my co-anchor is Harvey Williams, former Raider and Chief. You know, and I want to talk about the Chiefs and the Raiders. Throughout the years, all these players have gone from the Raiders to the Chiefs and the Chiefs and the Raiders, except for one, Josh Jacobs. The Chiefs tried to pick up Josh Jacobs as a free agent on Labor Day weekend, but they had to sign Samari Pirine because Josh Jacobs was adamant about not coming to the Kansas City Chiefs. When you think about what Josh Jacobs did by turning down the Chiefs, what did you think of that? Were you surprised he didn't kind of go the Marcus Allen, Harvey Williams, flip-flop of teams like everybody else, Rich Gannon? What did you think of Josh Jacobs' move there? Did you understand?
Knowing Josh, he made a decision that he thought was best for him. And he was adamant about not going to the Chiefs because he didn't like the Chiefs. And that was his thing. I mean, you can't knock a guy for what his beliefs are. He went to the Packers, and he's doing okay. But, truly, I never thought that we would get rid of Josh Jacobs. I thought he would be a Raider for a long time, and that was kind of disappointing to me. I like Josh, good kid, conscientious. He loved the Raiders. He thought he would be a Raider for life, and that didn't sit too well with me when we got rid of Josh. I really liked him. I had a lot of conversation with him. I thought he was a good kid. I thought he was basically the heart of that offense. And to get rid of him, it kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And George, I mean, we've long been after a great secondary for you and the Raiders and Raiders Nation in that black hole that we talked about. But it seems that you've had a struggle trying to find the right guys, keep the right guys in there at the corners and safeties. But talk to us about how you guys get back on track there and the greatest secondary of all time. I would say just a lot of people say that it's the Soul Patrol. You, Skip Thomas, Willie Brown, Jack Tatum. Inform some of the younger viewers about the Soul Patrol.
Oh, man, we were a group of guys. We hung together. We believed in each other. We played for each other. And, hey, we enjoyed playing together. And I think we had a bond that will never be matched. We weren't just players. We were friends on, off the field. We would be at each other's house during the week. We would watch film at each other's house during the week. We had a strong bond, and I think that's what made us a great secondary, and that's what made us a good defense because we were together. It wasn't no pretentiousness. One person wasn't trying to outshine the other. We all played for each other, and in meeting rooms were hostile with us. If you made a mistake, man, you caught it. The coach didn't have to say anything. We took it upon ourselves to, as they said, chastise each other. And we did a pretty good job of that during the week. And like I said, I think it was the closeness, the bond that we had, the familiarity that we had. We played together for 8 years or more. I played with Willie Brown my whole career. I played with Jack Tatum 8 out of my 11 years. I played with Skip Thomas 7 of my 11 years. And when you look at that length of time playing together and being together and hanging together and laughing and joking together, you can't help but get out. When you get out on the field, you play for each other. And you don't play for yourself. You're playing for the group. And like I said, if you weren't up to par on Sunday, you heard it from each one of those guys. And not only to step it up on game day if you were slacking, but in the meeting room, oh man, you caught hell. It was like if you remember as a kid when your dad would chastise you for something you did wrong, the feeling you had, right? Well, that's how it was on Sundays if you didn't meet the standards that we set for ourselves. And we had high standards for ourselves. We played, like I said, and I'm redundant with this, we played for each other.
I just love hearing the word chastise being used. I don't hear that word enough, so I'm just glad that's in the conversation.
Well, that's old school.
I love it, man. I think it's great. Use it as much as you can, George. Looking at this matchup right now, I mean, we know how this has usually gone. You know, Patrick Mahomes has put up really good numbers against the Raiders in his entire career. But we know that things are a lot different right now. We know there's a lot of injuries on this offense for the Chiefs. Patrick isn't having his best season. In fact, he's having his worst season. But the Chiefs continue to prevail because their defense is so dominant and they're running the ball so well. From a matchup perspective, if you were the Raiders right now, you're running the team, would you prefer this type of matchup where you're like, listen, Patrick isn't playing his best, but we are going to really struggle on offense in this game, but we feel we have a better chance in this one? Or would you prefer there be more of a high-octane scoring game where it's back and forth? Which one do you think favors the Raiders more?
Yeah, which one I think that favors the Raiders more is to put pressure on his ass. I mean, every down, I would blitz him from one side of the field to the other. I would make him get rid of the ball quick. I would make him try to feel uncomfortable in the pocket. I would not play zone. My corners would definitely have to get up and match the receivers, and my linebackers and my defensive line will come. Like Donald Trump said, drill, baby, drill. Hey, blitz, baby, blitz. You know? And that's what I would do with him. I mean, Mahomes is an innovator. You know, he makes something out of nothing. And when you have a guy like that, man, you got to put pressure. You can't let him sit back there and get comfortable. You got to make the receivers get out of their routes quick, get into their routes quick. And you got to put pressure on him. You can't sit and do all that BS that I see sometimes in the NFL today. But when you're talking about putting pressure on a quarterback, you got to come at him. Your defensive line's got to get off the ball. Your linebackers got to be quick, agile, and they got to be smart. And I would leave a single safety high, and I know that could be detrimental with Mahomes. But if you put pressure on him, he wouldn't have time to throw the deep ball. And I think that's the key to defeating Mahomes is putting pressure on him from all angles, from all different sides, from the middle to the outside. I would use the DB coming down with pressure, and I would make him, like as I said, get rid of the ball quick, because if you let him sit back there, he's going to pick you apart.
George, how do you feel like that Coach Pierce and this team sort of uses what happened last year, coming into Arrowhead, winning on a Black Christmas here in Kansas City, only to watch the Chiefs then go on to win the Super Bowl in their own stadium? After the Chiefs won that Super Bowl, Antonio Pierce said, hey, we've put the blueprint out there about how to do this. We know we can do this. It seems like the rivalry is kind of back, George. Then you had Trey Taylor with the Mahomes Muppet out there at training camp. The rivalry, George, it's back, I believe, in a big way here.
Well, we'll see Sunday. Sunday to tell the story whether the rivalry is back. Well, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, man, and that you can't deny. That means they were the best team in the NFL. And you're not going up against an average team. You're going up against a great team. And they, like you said, they have a Hall of Fame quarterback just playing on the field every Sunday. And I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks to have done it, other than Brady. I think he will eventually either tie or break Brady's records. And what's impressive about the Chiefs is the fact that they don't miss a beat. They get injuries and they come up with guys to fill the positions, and that's how great organizations become great. Is the fact that whoever is playing on the field, they're playing for the Chiefs. And that's something that the Raiders have to establish. That's something we have to grow into. And we got to get the players to buy into the fact that, hey, you're playing for the Raiders. You're not playing for yourself. And I think Kansas City has done that successfully. And I think that they dominate the league. They're undefeated. And, they won the Super Bowl last year with the injuries, with the replacement, with not having number 10 there. I mean, come on. This organization has a definite plan. They work the plan, and you have to take your hats off to them. I mean, I could sit here and talk about the Chiefs this and that, but I wouldn't be true to not only myself, I wouldn't be true to the game, nor would I be true to the fact that the Chiefs are undefeated after winning the Super Bowl last year. So, come on. I mean, you're talking about a pretty good football team. If that makes sense.
George, when we had you on here last, it does. It really does. And George, when we had you on here last year, I asked you point blank about John Gruden. You said he shouldn't have been fired. I've talked to Harvey Williams about it. Harvey Williams said John Gruden shouldn't have been fired. In training camp, Andy Reid had John Gruden with him for an entire week. 5 to 7 days, John Gruden was with Andy Reid in training camp because Andy Reid feels like John Gruden should be back in the NFL. If John Gruden gets approved to come back to the National Football League, will he be a Raiders coach again?
That I can't answer. Mark Davis has to answer that question. But I would like to see him back. I talked to John regular. I was on his first podcast show that he did. And John and I are pretty good friends. I like him. He's a football person. He's dedicated to football. And as I said last year, he shouldn't have been fired. I think the commissioner should really be looked at for what they did to him. Hopefully he wins his case. Hopefully they throw out the fact that the commissioner can't oversee his case. How dumb is that? Here's a guy that you suing, but he's a judge and a jury. I mean, come on, that don't make sense. And the commissioner needs to be looked at for what he did to John Gruden. It was a personal vendetta against John Gruden, and hopefully he wins and gets back in the game, and hopefully maybe the Raiders will pick him up again. I mean, is that out of the question? Who knows? And like I said, the only person that can answer that question is Mark Davis.
Personal vendetta. I couldn't have said it better myself, George. We hope John's back in the game sooner rather than later as well. But I got to talk about part new owner of the Raiders, Tom Brady, additionally is there. And there's already rumors out there that he's going to talk to Bill Belichick after the season, gauge his interest in the Raiders. Who knows? That could just be conjecture and rumor swirling out there. But how much say do you think Tom Brady as part owner is going to have in the day-to-day and the moves that the Raiders make in the future?
Well, it seems like he's locked down with the broadcast thing, so it's only so much I think he can do. He will probably be ear for Mark, and he will give his comments, But I think, he's making $300 million as a broadcaster, so he can only provide so much. And being a 5% owner, 95% belongs to Mr. Davis. So I'm quite sure he'll have something to say. I'm quite sure Mark will rely on what his expertise are. But I think that Brady is definitely tied down to the broadcast piece, and his contribution to the Raiders will be during the off season mostly. He probably will help with quarterback talent. I think that's where he would be most effective. And I think Mark will rely on his judgment. I mean, the guy's 7-time Super Bowl winner, and I don't know how many times he was most valuable player, but he does have something to offer. He knows talent and he knows the quarterback position. So why not pick his brain or use him in some capacity during the off season to help improve, especially the quarterback position, because that's where we're weakest, I think, at this point.
Well, George, we cannot thank you enough. We love every single time that we're able to have you. Before we let you go, we're going to hit you with our fast four quick questions. You give us what comes to mind. We'll have some fun with it. And for me, I got to ask, George, you talk so glowingly about former Chiefs that you played against, like Len Dawson or Otis Taylor, but what is your most hated Chiefs player that you ever went up against that you can say no good words about?
Otis Taylor.
You said he should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
I do. I believe that. I believe Otis Taylor should be in the Hall of Fame. Otis Taylor was a hell of a football player. Now, I played against him 8-9 years, and I know how good he was. But I don't have to like him. You know what I mean? The guy should be in the Hall of Fame, hands down. Otis Taylor was a force. I mean, he brought something to the game. He brought that big wide receiver mystique to the game where he opened up doors for the bigger receivers. And Otis was a pioneer in the game, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. Do I like him? Hell no.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Lance.
So, George, I mean, obviously you come to Kansas City, you want to face the Chiefs, you want to beat their ass, like you always talk about, beat that ass, BTA. Well, I mean, it had to piss you off, though, at the same time. You come to Kansas City and you have the best food in the world. So, was it like a bittersweet time when you come to Kansas City knowing you got to take on this team that you absolutely hate, but damn, you're looking forward to that barbecue? Is that something you experienced?
Without a doubt. And I love barbecue. I'm a Southerner. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and definitely I love great Southern food, and I'm a connoisseur of barbecue. Definitely awesome, right. I love the barbecue there in Kansas City, the best in the world.
Go, Shane.
What's a quick Ken Stabler story you could share?
I can't share it. I will share a story with you. It comes to mind.
Please.
Kenny and I used to drive cross country early in our career. I would go to Savannah. He would go to Alabama, the Gulf Shores, Alabama area. And we'll follow each other. He have his girl, I have my girl, and we'll kick it, And we hit, we were coming, I think it was New Orleans, right outside of New Orleans. And I think I would turn off and he would continue. And we pulled into the service station to get gas. The police comes up, a white cop comes up. Kenny eases up to me and says, "Hey, brother, you're on your own."
Oh, my God.
I miss Kenny. He and I came in the league together the same year. We were drafted the same year, and we played our whole career together. And what a genuine guy. I mean, best guy you ever want to meet. If he didn't like you, he didn't say good morning to you. But if he likes you, I mean, hey, you have fun with him. You know what I'm saying? And very few guys that didn't get along with Kenny. He was just the ultimate teammate, and I miss Kenny today. I sometimes stay in touch with his fiance, who he was with before he passed. And, those kinds of bonds, you never go away. And I miss him, and I loved him to death.
Amen.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Perfect. Wonderful story. And George, I got to end on this. Just Marcus Allen. We mentioned it. Players going from the Chiefs to the Raiders to the Chiefs. When Marcus Allen comes to some Raiders events, do you guys give him a hard time about leaving the Raiders, being a Chief, him having this split allegiance? Like, no, this is the Raiders, baby.
That's past. That's Steve Marcus. I talk to Marcus all the time. We text each other all the time. He's another great guy, great personality, not a pretentious bone in his body. And No, not anymore. We used to ride him, but he'll probably be at the game Sunday.
Oh,
Knowing Marcus. But we text all the time, and if I'm not with the team on the road, during games we'll text each other. We'd put our coaching hat on and start talking about what should and shouldn't happen, and what should be and what shouldn't be. And what a great guy! And the Chiefs got a great player in Marcus when he came to you guys, and he served you well.
100%.
George, I can't tell you. I mean, this has been just an absolute blast. Every time we have you on, we're reminded about just why we love this game and the players that we respect, and the reason that why we're here doing what we do. And it's because of players like you and these great stories and these great players that you played with. Thank you for all that you've given this game. Thank you for all you've given us as friends and as confidants. We love you, George. That's all I got, man. We love you. You're the best.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys, and like I say anytime, get me on with you regular. I'll be a plus to your podcast.
Oh,
We would love to do it, George. You are the best, my friend.
Get a sponsor for me.
there you go. They don't sell Stickum anymore.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
Champion great player.
That's right. My God. George is the best. Thank you, sir.
Hey, it's my
Always
pleasure,
honest.
and anytime. It's an honor being on with you.
Good luck.
Thank you,
Good
George.
luck
Honor having you,
Sunday.
friend.
Legend.
You guys, I don't know
Legend.
how to even. I mean, this started, you guys, back in 2012 when Noah and I first started doing this. We reached out to George's daughter, I believe, is who finally got back to us, because George, if you grow up watching NFL films and you saw, that John Facenda, the Autumn Wind, is a Raider pillaging just for fun. You saw Jack Tatum and you saw George Atkinson and you saw that Soul Patrol secondary. You saw those Raiders of those early years, the John Madden Raiders, and Fred Biletnikoff and Ken Stabler. I'm so glad, Shane, you asked about the Snake. What we got out of that, guys, you won't get anywhere else. That is
Nope.
what it's all about. That's what this game's all about. These rivalries, that Chiefs Raiders rivalry. And I just have chills right now. That's why we do this. So
Beat that ass. I couldn't get over that, man. He used
PTA, my friends.
Well, let me address Morgan here. What up, allies? That freaking 31-6 victory for the Niners. How did it go? It went great. I love being wrong. I love it. When the schedule came out in May, like I said, I thought the 49ers that was gonna be the Super Bowl in October. I was wrong. Lance has the Chiefs losing to the Buffalo Bills. We'll cross that bridge in 3 weeks and see how right he is. But until then, let's break it down. I don't see the Chiefs losing another game. What do you think,
Before
Noah?
we get started here, I've just got to say that, yes, Lance was the only one correct.
Yes.
And in honor of it being Raiders week and the Raiders beating us very rarely, the one time kind of they did beat us, other than that Christmas Day game, was when they took a victory lap around Arrowhead. If you remember, the long forgotten receiver Henry Ruggs was killing the Chiefs that day. And so
no pun
Vance,
intended.
yes, Lance, it is your victory lap time. And so you get the bus, you get your victory lap around Arrowhead Allies.
Dude, this is like speed. Go below 55, brother.
He's flying. Hold on. Look at him go. No brakes on that.
He believed.
Oh man, this is a good ride. I'll tell you guys right now. I took a ride on Arrowhead Allies Drive, if you know what I mean. This is a fun time right here, guys. Listen. I know all of our hearts are in the right place, so I'm not gonna come onto my show and chastise my brethren, as my guy George Atkinson would say. I'm not here to chastise my brethren, but let's be real. My guys were talking some stuff. You guys were saying, "Oh, this is the week. The Niners are gonna blow them out."
I was scared of Jerry Rice, to be fair.
Gang, Niner gang on it at all. I even had my brother before kickoff tell me, "Lance, you're an idiot. I saw the Arrowhead Allies episode. Your guys were right. You're stupid, dude. This is bound to happen. They don't got no wide receivers." And I said, "Oh, ye of little faith." And I don't quote the Bible very often, but I did it. And it worked, boys and girls. I separate the Red Sea and I let them walk through, boys and girls. There was promise, there was hope after all. And we are still looking at an undefeated Chiefs team, boys and girls.
Wow.
It is good to be here on the show with you guys. That was a fun episode with our fun conversation with George. But I'm ready to talk some Chiefs football, boys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was Lance's Victory Lap, brought to you by no one but George is on us to get a sponsor, get off our asses, beat the asses of a sponsor to open up their pocketbooks and write a check out to Arrowhead Allies. So we'll get on that for you guys, for George. And yeah, we got to get to this game because these stats aren't the greatest, but they haven't been all season. But all the Chiefs do is come home with the victory and take that victory lap. Mahomes, 2 more interceptions. Neither one necessarily his fault, with it being tipped by a defensive lineman who caught it, and then Xavier Worthy falling down on a route and causing another interception. But we've got the run game. We've got enough in the passing game, I guess. And the defense leads the way and leads the day. So the Chiefs are 6-0.
The Chiefs were 1 game away. This is crazy stat. The Chiefs were 1 game away from tying an NFL record for most consecutive wins without scoring more than 27 points, and they scored more than 27 points. So they did not tie that record. They scored 28, which I did not think was possible. I don't know if they're going to score 30 all season. It may not matter. To steal a phrase from our good friend Al Davis, George is not on the show anymore, so therefore no forearm shivers are imminent. Just win, baby. The Chiefs are doing that. DDT, you bring it all day, every day. You know the Chiefs are coming for that. And if Josh Jacopetti was here, I might have to become unglued myself, because this Raiders team is fading fast. We see what they are. And the Chiefs coming off this win. Now, of course, we know the narratives. We know what's happening. We know the Ravens are the Super Bowl champions here in October. Give them the Lombardi. Give Lamar Jackson his 3rd MVP. We know all that's coming. We know that narrative's already here. But for the Chiefs, you look out, you clear the way, because the schedule opens up, and the Ravens, to even have a chance at getting the 1 seed, are going to have to win out. In my opinion, the Chiefs are going to have to lose 3 times. The Chiefs, guys, with this schedule coming up, with Raiders, with Bucks, Broncos, before they play the Bills, and then after that, you really only have to look at the Texans as a real measuring stick type game down the stretch. Things are lining up for the Chiefs beautifully. If they would just start playing better football, we'd really be in for a treat. We'll see when that's coming. If it is, Lance, we don't know if we still have faith in Veach. You don't have the shirt on, so I guess the Chiefs are out there with Sky Moore as receiver for the rest of the season. Let's just go Sky Moore. Let's go Sky. Let's just build him up.
Build him up. I wore my Pulp Fiction shirt today because what they're doing here, what Samuel and John Travolta are doing, are killing some narratives, and the narratives that Brett Veach isn't going to make a big swing. But here we are, guys, today hearing, and we heard Nate Taylor. All respect to him, he's a eligible reporter, but he was sitting there saying this last week that the Chiefs are going after guys that are under 30, and then today all we're hearing is that they're going after Cooper Kupp, who's 31 and injured. So there's a mixed report here, and that tells me one thing. The Chiefs are calling for everybody. The Chiefs are looking at every team out there that is willing to trade any asset that can make this team better, and they're willing to see what they can do to make that work. And that is why I told you guys 2 weeks ago, and I'm saying it today, that the Chiefs need to keep every option available, and that includes bringing back Tyreek Hill, who I do think is a possible option. Don't need to go through it. I just wanted to throw that back out there just to keep it alive. The point I'm trying to make is, guys, and when you look at this game in particular, and the Chiefs killed some narratives in this game because, like you said, they were, almost broke a record, a team that can't score enough points. They manufactured it through the run game. Our guy John Harrison just put it on the chat about how this matchup coming with the Raiders, it's devastating for the Raiders. That's why I set that question up with George, because the way the Chiefs are playing right now, it's horrible for the Raiders. The Raiders are a terrible rush defense. The Chiefs are 5th ranked, I think, in rush offense right now in the NFL, and they scored all 4 touchdowns this week on the ground. So this is going to be a bad matchup for them. And the Chiefs scored 80% touchdowns 80% of the red zone drives this week, by far their best of the season. Yeah. So things are getting better, and no one in the league wins games as a team more than the Chiefs. I mean, you showed the stats. It's a complete team victory, man. That's like Hoosiers basketball on a football field. Like, it is just a complete team playing as one right now, because they literally have no other choice. They don't have a ton of stars out there right now on the offensive side that are making things happen. It isn't Patrick Mahomes out there lighting up the stat sheet, guys, and I love that style of football, but it's just not there for the team. And Brett Veach has to know, and I probably should have wore the shirt now that I think about it, because I do actually trust in Veach in this. But it's
gotta wash it sometime.
I know, exactly. It was starting to smell like onions. But the point is that and hope, onions and hope. But the thing is that Brett Veach has to know, like we do here, that even though it's working right now, it is not sustainable with the way the Chiefs are playing offense. And if they want to keep this defense as dominant as it is, they have to be able to take some of the pressure off of them. We talked about this. We're not even halfway. We're just about halfway through the season, and this defense has taken on all the pressure, and they have done an amazing job. It's better than even they were last season, despite losing to Jerry Steen, and now they've lost Jalen Watson probably for the rest of the season. But they can withstand those types of blows because Spag's system, he has the guys in place, and they have the depth. The offense doesn't. And Brett Veach knows he's not getting Rashee Rice back. At best, the Chiefs are getting Hollywood Brown back in sometime in January, and that's at best. So we are looking at a team that is in desperate need. I hear people on the radio all day today saying, well, I just don't see the Chiefs taking a desperate move, or making a desperate move. Let's build a scenario real quick and say, what would be a time when the Chiefs would make a desperate move? Would it be if they lost, let's say, every single one of their good wide receivers? Or let's say that happened, and they're trying to win a three-peat. Wouldn't those be the two scenarios when they would make a desperate move? Well, they're happening at the same time. So I would have to believe they need to double down. They believe they need to double down and make said swing, especially when they have the draft capital over the next 2 years to do so with the 5th youngest roster in the NFL. This is the perfect time for them to do so. There are guys out there to make it happen. We've already talked the names. We can continue to talk the names. The point is, Brett Veach has opportunities out there to make this team better, significantly better, where they need to make them significantly better, and I still believe it's going to happen. We can sit here and theorize on it, though, but I believe it's going to happen.
Yeah, I do too. And just to get to the comments, anyone know timeline on Omenahu's return? I think he talked about kind of late November-ish, so maybe Black Friday, maybe the next Raiders game he'll be back. But yeah, it looks like late November unless things are progressing faster than that. And I mean, this game had so much in it. I mean, for a game that everyone talks about, oh, it wasn't very exciting. Mahomes and Brock Purdy didn't play great, but you have Malik Collins from Kansas City, Kansas, Center High School, Kansas City, Missouri, out there throat punching Patrick Mahomes. It's like, where's the Kansas City love here? And then, of course, what everyone's talking about is Malik Mustafa being run over by Patrick Mahomes, and it's Malik Mustafa's punch out. But little Mahomes is the victor as he KOs the big bad Malik Mustafa, a Greek god, as Clint found. And Malik's having some fun with it here. Ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked out here. And he was everywhere, and it's good that he can have some fun with it, unlike some other players in the league. But
well, that's because Malik got his pound of flesh in this game. He was blowing up Xavier Worthy and several other players. So he had a good game, but Patty got the last laugh.
100%. And we look at Patrick Mahomes' 17-game pace, under 4,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. But I like that record there at the bottom, even with those horrendous numbers. Not that pace will continue. We don't think those are going to be the numbers. God, I hope not. But I will take that last one, the 17-0. That one looks pretty nice. So.
Yeah,
Clint,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not to interrupt. I just want to set you up. You mentioned something that's genius. You said that you look at the rest of the Chiefs' schedule. I mean, it's lining up for the Chiefs to really start hanging some points here. Maybe they don't score 30, but if they're consistently scoring 27, 28, 29 points, I have to imagine there's going to be a couple of these games where Patrick has a 2-3 touchdown game here and there, throws for 300 yards. He's thrown for over 290 yards a couple times this season. He's had a 300-yard game. So he's doing things, but this is what I'm talking about. Set up Patrick for success. Get him just one more piece, man, and just get him a little bit more of a rhythm in offense. Get him another piece in the offense, because we also know that Kareem Hunt is not going to be able to run the ball 22 to 25 times a game for the next 10 weeks. That's just not going to happen either.
Yeah. And Shane, look at this, because this is an opportunity for the Chiefs that are experiencing some injuries. We know what they are. They're out there. Everybody's talking about it. But this is an opportunity over these next several weeks, going from now to the end of the season. The Chiefs are rowing, there's a long road to hoe to get this 1 seed. But in doing so, the chance to, I don't know, like Lance said, put up some numbers, get some momentum, positive momentum for this offense. And in the meanwhile, let the defense continue to eat and play against offenses that are not going to be able to challenge them as much. Like when people start talking about, oh, this team's the new best team this week, it was the Ravens. Now it's the Ravens right now. It's been other teams, been the Bills when they started 4-1. But this Chiefs team has a chance to sort of fly under the radar, winning every week and build momentum towards the playoffs where, gosh, who would have known it? They have championship pedigree and they're back-to-back champions. Shane, this could be setting up very well, especially you might actually get some players healthy at some point later in this season.
Andy Reid's able to scheme this team. I firmly believe now if he cloned Sky Moore and there were 5 Sky Moores out there running routes, Andy Reid would be able to scheme the freaking system to work. It's odd. It doesn't make sense. It goes against the grain of everything, but the defense is so damn good. They're going to keep opposing offenses from scoring 16 points. That's just how they are. I mean, it'll be handoff Kareem Hunt, 3 yards. Next play, handoff Kareem Hunt, 2 yards. Okay, now it's 3rd and 5. Patrick Mahomes drops back to pass. He's in trouble, and he gets rid of it to Noah Gray for 7. First down. So the next play is a sweep to McCole Hardman, 8 yards. The next play is handoff Kareem Hunt, 3 yards, first down. It's moving at such a snail's pace that we never thought was going to be possible to be successful moving at a snail's pace. But when you got a defense playing as great as the Chiefs defense is playing, best in the NFL, best defensive coordinator in the NFL, Andy Reid could scheme anything. He could scheme me and Lance out there at wide receiver. And you know what? We wouldn't catch the ball because Andy Reid would scheme it to throw it to Jody Fortson or Noah Gray. Andy Reid can make it happen. And with this defense, it's simple and it will happen.
Yeah, he schemed Sky Moore open. Unfortunately, couldn't come down with it. I was going to give him that. I saw it. I was like, that's a catch. Okay, whatever. Good. And then they're like, no, he actually dropped it. I know it doesn't look like he did, but he just somehow he dropped it. Oh, man. Keep him off the stat sheet there. But we also got Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning are the only quarterbacks in the last 30 years to throw more interceptions than touchdowns while leading their teams to a 6-0 start. But Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl that year. Couldn't throw the ball over about 5 yards, but their defense was so great, and the Chiefs' defense is so great. But there's plenty to go around. Choose your favorite turnovers. We've got raspberry, blueberry, chocolate. I've never heard chocolate. Peach, cherry. Just what's your favorite turnover? We've got plenty. Mahomes is going to keep them fresh, keep them coming each and every week. So which one do you want, Lance?
Oh, baby. I mean, look, the chocolate sounds delicious. I've never had an apple chocolate turnover. I'm going to give it. But listen, all of Patrick Mahomes' turnovers have been pretty nasty, if we're being honest. I think there's an expiration date on them because we're getting sick. It's getting old. Let's be real. These turnovers are getting old. I will say this. Could you imagine, real quick, as a side note, could you imagine Patrick Mahomes with those weapons that those Broncos teams, that Bronco team had, even when Peyton was playing so terrible? They got benched for Brock Osweiler until the playoffs. Man, I cannot imagine what Patrick would do with those weapons. I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, I'm gonna try something new. Let's do chocolate.
I love it.
Oh, that's more defensive lineman interceptions, Lance. Thanks. Great. Can't wait. That's 2 in a row.
2 in a row and 2 double-digit victories. That's the key. The formula. We found it. We've also found some success. Shane just talked about it. Andy Reid in his book, in his bag, scheming guys open, scheming plays that defenses are pointing and looking around. What am I looking at? What am I seeing? Everyone down in this 3-point stand. We got Wentz, Mahomes, Kelsey, Hunt. What is happening? Where's the ball going? Who's under center? It's Wentz. What? And I mean, this is just what they're going to have to do to make things work and to be successful in the red zone.
This place was a fever dream. It was a nightmare kind of play, dude. I don't know what the hell this was.
It almost scored.
It was fun. It was fun.
And then Lance, you talked about it. Jalen Watson broken tibia is in his ankle. Unfortunately, we don't have the doctor there, so we'll have to play one. I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night, but there's outside chance that he's back for a late playoff push, but it's likely that his season's over. So the question is, do you trust Najee Johnson, Josh Williams, and Keith Taylor, who was called up from the practice squad?
What about the guy that got the interception, Roland Wallace?
He's back there at safety. I'm talking like specifically at corner. Do you trust those 3 guys? Do you trust Najee to step up, Josh Williams? Because Josh Williams was supposed to be the starter, was in there in preseason, and he lost the job to Jalen Watson like kind of that last week. I'm sure also in practice. So
let me say this. I don't want to sound like I'm doing a cop out here, but this has been proven through time, which is why I'm saying this confidently. I trust the Spags system because we've seen a revolving door of cornerbacks over the last 5 seasons under Spags' system, and it has been a revolving door of success. They have not missed a beat, and in fact, it's getting better and better every single year. They just let L'Jarius Sneed walk, and we have not missed him for a single game this season. Now, losing Jalen Watson sucks because he's having a very awesome season, and I said on this show, and I've said on other shows, he's an unsung hero in this defense. Very underrated player, and he's having an awesome season. So losing him naturally is going to suck. But what reason do we have to believe that Spags is not going to find one of these other guys and put them right in place to succeed? Because it's literally happened with not only some of the more talented players like a Trent McDuffie, who's supposed to be awesome. He's a first-round pick that the Chiefs went up and got. but guys that are 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th undrafted players, 7th round, 8th round, undrafted players that the Chiefs are just plugging and playing and are succeeding at a high level that wouldn't work anywhere else. So at this point, it's probably going to be Najee Johnson because he's the one that Andy Reid talked about a lot and how they have a lot of faith. And he's probably going to get the first rip at this, even though he gave up a massive play on that in that game. I like to think, though, he's going to get better because of that, because that is actually how Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson got better. We talk about the galvanization against Stephon Diggs and that loss to the Bills a couple of years ago, and then you saw them get better in the postseason, pick Joe Burrow off twice in the AFC Championship. I think that's what you're going to see from a Najee Johnson, who now has to step up. Because we talked about before the season, guys, remember the ACL tear that Najee had, but man, he was killing it in training camp, and this guy's just got to get his opportunity. Opportunity's now here, so Nazee's gonna have to show us what this guy's really made of, and I do think he's gonna step up and do some good things, man.
Yeah, and we're dropping like flies, and so Clint, I go to you. Dr. Death Steve Williams is in the hospital saying, "Who's next?"
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't expect a Dr. Death Steve Williams reference here on this show, and I'm a little overwhelmed by that. A former All-American wrestler and offensive guard from the University of Oklahoma, a legend in Japan. Him and Terry Bam Bam Gordy, one of the most feared tag teams I've ever seen, one of the most physical tag teams I've ever seen. Sorry, I'm dwelling on that right now. We're talking about these injuries. Yes. Artie, it did stand out to me that immediately Andy Reid's like, yeah, Juju's out against the Raiders. We know that. Yeah. I mean, that's a given, right? So this Juju situation is something to keep an eye on. It was seeming that he was going to be a nice little fail-safe for this offense. He had 130 yards a couple weeks ago, and it seemed like he was going to be someone that we said it all last year. You don't need necessarily a Tyreek Hill. You need a Juju Smith-Schuster, and now you don't have that. And Noah, I got to have the graphic. I got to have it. I got to see it. And here's a good example of it, of the current healthy receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs. We see one of them right there. Oh, look. Yep, Xavier Worthy. You got Justin Watson. You got McCole Hardman, who might be the Chiefs' best receiver currently, which is insane. And then you have a caricature of Sky Moore, as our guy Brickma from Rookie of the Year would say, little help here.
Why is that ball in Sky Moore's hand? You know that ball would not stay in his hand.
Yeah, it's funny that
the only time he gets the ball in his hand is when he can pose for a picture.
I love that he's not even. There's no picture of him catching it. It's just
he hasn't made a play in 2024. He hasn't recorded a stat, so I can't find a 2024 photo of the man.
I mean, he's made a stat 2 drops. Those are stats.
That is Sky Moore. That is like in a nutshell his career. He's not a real player or a real human, so therefore not getting a real photo here. Ugh. And there's a concern there. I mean, numbers wise, you're going to have to start looking. You're going to have to start thinking about the practice squad and bring up some guys here this week just to fill out a roster, just to have players to play and bodies. I don't think it's going to matter necessarily in the score column against the Raiders. If this was the Bills this week, if this was a bigger game, there'd be a lot more concern. But we'll give them a couple weeks here to get this figured out as the next few weeks, kind of the Chiefs, hate to say, can kind of sleepwalk through, and I don't think they will, but see.
Yeah. And this would be the perfect time to bring up a guy like Nico Remigio, and everybody obviously see Justin Ross again. I mean, at this point, what is the harm? Because Justin Watson is doing absolutely nothing for this team. Sky Moore, I don't even know why he suits up, but I'm not even trying to be a dick right now. I'm just being serious. Like, he does literally nothing for this team except run routes, and that's being nice. And then you're talking about, I mean, they're targeting their tight ends more than their wide receivers right now, and rightfully so, because those guys have garnered more trust than some of these wide receivers out here. So it's time to bring back up Justin Ross and Nico. I don't believe those are answers, like you said. It's not like it's going to move the needle and all of a sudden this team's scoring 35 a game. But these could be guys that all of a sudden on third down or on a second and long, you can give these guys opportunities to create with their feet, because we know that is where this offense is headed with guys like Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. They're letting these guys create with their feet. Give these guys opportunities to do that and see if they can maybe replicate that to a certain degree or a version of its own, and then it can give the offense a little bit of rhythm. So when you do get that said stud that I believe that Brett Veach is going to bring in, that difference-making receiver, you already have these guys in rhythm. And that way this offense has a little bit more cohesion when he walks in. It's not like, okay, oh my God, you have to perform at a high level right now. We have nothing else. It's like, no. You have 2 other guys that have been playing well for these last couple of weeks. They've been getting, their teeth cut in the offense. They're getting familiarized. The butterflies are out of their stomach now because they're playing meaningful games. Let them get into some rhythm. And I just don't understand why Sky Moore's taking up a roster spot. I don't know why Justin Watson's still up. He's literally done nothing this season. Give some of these guys in the practice squad an opportunity. Otherwise, why the hell are you keeping them? What's the point of doing it? Does everybody have to be injured before these guys get a chance? I'm not sure I understand what's going on, man. I just don't.
Yeah, you mentioned Sky Moore there, and Clint and I were at the forefront of this. The literal second he was drafted, we hated the pick and the player. And this is a kind of a shot at the Sky Moore stinks train. 2022, the little second Sky Moore was drafted. Clint and I are the only ones on the train as the conductor is calling, all aboard the Sky Moore stinks train. And we're the only ones there. And I'm lonely, but Clint assures me that someday everyone will join us. And then we fast forward to 2024, and it's a party. Everybody's there. I can't keep them out of the train. People are just trying to wait to get on the train.
Yeah, you have to remember, guys, going into 2023, we had people, and Brian B. Shinan was one of them, predicting 1,000-yard season for Sky Moore. That happened here, and I will not soon forget it. And it's something that we have to live with because we were there at that draft in Las Vegas as the Chiefs traded down instead of drafting George Pickens as they should have to take Sky Moore in that spot. And it's, you know what? We say it every year since the DK Metcalf, Mecole Hardman thing to now. That's what the team is being adversely affected by that in ways that people can't fathom because it's really hard for the average fan to really go back and try to dive into those things happening. A lot of people try to tell Noah and I that's just it's just hindsight, except for the fact that we covered the SEC extensively, saw both Mecole Hardman and DK Metcalf play all year, had seen George Pickens play in person several times throughout his Georgia career, zeroed in on that pick, and we just couldn't get him home, couldn't get it in the ring, as we say. And as Hulk Hogan would say back at Bash at the Beach 2000, that's why this receiving core is in the damn shape it's in. It's a BS like that.
It's not hindsight if you're talking in a current motion. Like you guys are saying that at the time. So people got to give you guys credit for what you did. And
they never will.
I like the Sky Moore pick, and I was 100. So trust me, I'm dragging ass on that engine. And by the way, I saw on the wheel underneath me, it was like sparking. I think I might need to lose a little weight, or maybe Shaggy and I need to separate or something because we're the big guys of the show.
It was about to become like that Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom moment.
Dude, I want a copy of that picture.
I got you.
I want a copy of it.
Why is that conductor so angry?
Dude, that's perfect. Can I screenshot that and make it my Instagram story?
I'll just send it to you, Shane. We have that technology. It's like I said, that photo is in 2024. I think that we've got that technology now. But Shane, right back to you because I am worried about this Chiefs run defense all season. They didn't give up a 50-yard rusher. Sunday, 58 yards. Is it time to panic? I'm getting the panic.
Not at all. Not at all. But I like the joke. Not at all. The defense. Who's the Raiders running back now?
Zamir White.
Are they even? I'm still trying to figure out how the Raiders went to Baltimore and won. If Baltimore is supposed to be the Super Bowl, if Baltimore is supposed to be all that in a bag of chips, how did they lose their home opener to the Raiders?
Baltimore lost that game. The Raiders didn't win that game. They had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. The Ravens literally gift wrapped that game to them, man.
Like Chiefs Christmas last year.
Yes, it was horrible. It was more about what the Ravens didn't do than what the Raiders actually did do. So,
and the last thing I just want to throw out here, Lance, you've talked about it, touched on it a couple times this show, but the wide receiver trade targets, they're growing. You mentioned Tyreek Hill. You mentioned Cooper Kupp. There's the ESPN story about how the Chiefs can get Chris Olave, Mike Williams, Demarcus Robinson, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins. And I think my personal favorite, and maybe everyone's at this point, is the Panthers' Deontay Johnson. He makes sense from an age-wise, health-wise, talent-wise, athleticism-wise. It just makes too much sense that he's not happy. He was in the post-game locker room talking about this isn't fun. This is frustrating. I can't play every position out here. Somebody help me. Hello, Chiefs.
Well, we see this.
Cooper Kupp's the Vegas odds now. The Vegas. Did you see the Vegas odds? Think he's the best chance to come to the Chiefs, and that scares the crap out of me because he's been so injury prone. I don't want to give up a freaking second or third round pick for a guy that's 31 is coming off a slew of injuries. Is it just me?
No, it's not you.
It's not. I get the concern. I mean, yeah, 2 years ago, God, we're talking about what, 3 years ago. This was the NFL MVP, Cooper Kupp, right here. I know this well because we were in line to ask him a question at the NFL Honors, and we froze and didn't realize they were coming.
We were at dinner. We didn't think we'd get called on. We were at dinner at some like Japanese steakhouse or whatever. And
they're like, "Okay, Cooper Kupp, you guys, Starcade Media, go ahead." Like, oh, I got nothing. I don't know. So it's crazy to look
right now.
It's just not gonna happen. That's not gonna be it, guys. It's not gonna be Cooper Kupp. When these things happen, it's always like Diana Rossini had that report, and it's just like immediately, it's just like, oh, here we go, Chiefs, it's gone to Chiefs.
And if you actually listen to what she said, she actually never said that the Chiefs are actually like looking at
right.
It. They said if the Rams would be willing to meet the salary,
correct,
the Chiefs would be interested. I don't think the Rams are doing that either. So it's a non-starter.
Let's go get Mike Evans. Says Chiefs again, age, health, just out the hamstring. Yeah.
He got hurt bad yesterday. That hamstring looked bad on Mike Evans. He couldn't even put his shoe back on when they were trying to walk him off the field. I don't know why they didn't get the cart to pick him up, but they come back from commercial break, and Troy Aikman was like, yeah, they couldn't get him on the cart, so he tried to walk off, and then he couldn't put his shoe back on because his hamstring was so bad. I don't think we're going to see him in 2 weeks, so I don't think we're going to try to get Mike.
He's out until at least 11. Week 11.
George Schultz confirmed that he's out till week 11.
Yeah,
yes.
Wow.
And to answer the question as candidly as I can, Noah, you're talking about, I mean, LaShawn McCoy's been on his show, The Facility, on FS1 for the last week, talking about Brad Veach has been texting him and saying that, no, we're good with the guys we have. Even if that was true, that was a week ago when they had a healthy Juju Smith-Schuster. He's not healthy. He's already ruled out for this week, and it's a hamstring injury. That means it's going to linger. And Juju should never be your number one target as a receiver, ever, like under any circumstances. So that means that Brad Veach is just doing GM talk. And even if he was telling Shady something of actual truth, do you really think he's going to tell a guy that's going to go on TV and tell that story? Brad Veach is a very smart GM. He knows what he's doing. He knows that he has to undersell and underwhelm everything to bring something up that's going to be more of a surprise to everybody. That's what's going to happen in all of this. So I believe Brett Veach still has that aggressive bone in his body. I think it's still there because we saw one of the first moves he ever made as Chiefs GM was going out there and spending all that capital, draft and money-wise, on Frank Clark. That was a heavy swing. He was also the guy that told the Chiefs to go and trade all that to go and get Patrick Mahomes. So this is an aggressive guy, and this is the most aggressive time for the Chiefs. This is the best time for the Chiefs to be aggressive in the Mahomes era because they're literally talking about making history here, man. And again, this is a young roster. If they were old and were cap-strapped, I'd understand playing it a little more conservative. They're not. This is a very young, cheap roster, man. There's not a single receiver on this team that is making any money. This is the perfect time for them to go out there and make a big move, man. And my vote is still Tyreek Hill. He's on a bad team. We don't know what's going to happen with Tua. We can see if that'll happen or not. But there, like you said, Noah, Deontay Johnson makes a ton of sense. Chris Olave makes a ton of sense. The Saints are in cap hell. They're going to want to be shedding guys off of their roster. So that could possibly be it. But no to Cooper Kupp when it comes to the value they're asking in return. No to Mike Williams and DeMarcus Robinson. Those are not difference makers. Those are guys who just hold up roster spots. Mike Williams is basically Sky Moore on stilts, so I don't want him at all. I would say go and get an actual difference maker, a guy that's going to actually do something for this offense, not be a mercy, not be a donation signing, if you will. Go and get a guy that can make a difference.
Yeah, and I don't want to call out Shady McCoy. God knows we've had our problems with former players already in this calendar year. But like you said, Lance, either Brett Veach is feeding him a line of BS, kind of like a smoke screen. He knows he's going to go on TV and say it, or it never happened. And I don't want to say Shady, it never happened, but it's either BS or it never happened. It's one of the two. You choose whichever one you like best, but those are your two options. Sorry, that's it. So.
Yep. And
now it's the.
I know we're pressing against time. I know we're getting pressed against time. We have the chat right here. It says, "How do we afford Tyreek?" It's very simple. He has a base salary right now of $750,000. The Chiefs can easily fit that in. He has an avoidable year in 2026. He has 3 years, $64 million left on his deal in total. The Chiefs can honor that. They can fit that under their cap next year and the year after that. It's very simple to do. The reason why the Chiefs don't have a lot of cap money is because they haven't done a lot of restructures. Once they do that, cap money opens up. It is that simple, guys. The Chiefs can make it work if they want to.
Yeah, especially Jawan Taylor's contract, restructure that bad boy, and you free up a ton of money. Patrick Mahomes seems to always be willing to do it. But we move into the predictions portion of the show for this Raiders game. We had three guys who were the biggest losers, and me, Clinton, Shane, picking the 49ers. Is anyone going to pick the Raiders? Lance, start us off since you were the victor.
I think he's going to.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and not pick the Raiders. I know this is a really hot take here for you guys, but I think the Chiefs are going to play. They're going to play this game. I know that we have this idea that the Chiefs are going to come in here with vigor and fire because, Antonio Pierce saying, oh, we got the blueprint to beat the Chiefs. This is the last team to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to go in here and drop 58 on them. I would love that. And I'm still rooting for it. I would love for Patrick Mahomes to go in there and just light up the scoreboard. But I think that the Chiefs are looking at this and saying, guys, we're 6-0. Let's go in there. Let's stay healthy as freaking possible because we're so injury prone this season. Let's go in here. Let's run this ball. Let's be methodical. Let's play great defense, and let's just beat this team by 10 points. That's what's going to happen. I think the Chiefs win this game by a score of 24-14. It's going to be a very methodical, easy win for the Chiefs because the Raiders just don't have anything to really offer the Chiefs and combatants, man. So I'd love to see the Chiefs drop 35, and maybe they will, but I think it's going to be a 10-point victory, and the Chiefs are in the mid-20s.
Since I'm right there with you, Lance, I'll go next. I think it's going to be an 11-point victory for our Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they're going to blow the doors off this thing. We see how good the defense is. Like you said, I think they run the ball, deal with their wide receiver issue as it is standing right now, 3, and then a mannequin who is able to run routes, but that's about it, and Sky Moore. So I think it's 20-9. Chiefs get the victory.
That's a good score.
I'm going to say this, folks. I am the number one Mahomie. I've had this mug made for me by my daughters 7 days before Patrick Mahomes made his first NFL start 7 years ago. So I can be critical of Patrick Mahomes. His fantasy football stats suck. I got him in fantasy football. Mahomes doesn't do anything for me. He's not a good fantasy football quarterback. But not in fantasy, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. So you got to take fantasy out of it. He's the best. Patrick Mahomes will put up fantasy stats in this game because he owes the Raiders for talking smack. You guys saw it. You guys tried to talk to Max Crosby at the Super Bowl on Radio Row. He didn't want to talk. But boy, a week after the Super Bowl, the head coach and Max Crosby were saying, yeah, we got the recipe on how to beat the Chiefs. Mahomes is putting up some mad stats. This Sunday, he's throwing for 5 touchdowns. The Chiefs win 38-10. Take it to the bank.
Yes. I like it, Shaggy.
Now, do we got DDT in here? And we appreciate DDT for the Raiders fan for always religiously being in here. And it's always about the refs. It's always Raiders talking points. But I'd like you to have a seat next to me, DDT, and I'll just tell you a little story. The Chiefs' winning percentage against the Raiders since Marty Schottenheimer arrived here in Kansas City in 1989 is over 70%. We know Patrick Mahomes' record against the AFC West and against the Raiders themselves. Weirdly enough, the Raiders have gotten him a couple times now, twice, which seems like an impossibility and seems very fluky. The Kansas City Chiefs coming in here, Patrick Mahomes himself, DDT said it'll get handled when it gets handled. Sunday is when it's going to get handled. Maybe not quite the way we'd love to see it, lighting up the scoreboard and all the fun and vigor and fireworks going on as the home of the Chiefs echoes throughout Allegiant Stadium on Sunday at 3:25. But it will be enough to get the Chiefs back in the conversation of like, well, maybe they are still pretty good. They have won back-to-back Super Bowls, and now they're going to get to 7-0 because they win this game. Not going to give them 30, but we're going to say 27-10. The Chiefs win this game. 27-10, Kansas City Chiefs, and Las Vegas. It's coming up. Jackpot again, to steal a quote from Jim Nantz, our good friend. Chiefs win. And then it's on to, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, guys, after that. So
thank you very much.
Shane's second favorite team.
Yes, thank you very much, brothers. Thank you, George Atkinson. And after the Chiefs Raiders, tune in right here to Starcade Media, where Shaggy Shane and Harvey Williams will break down this Chiefs Raiders rivalry. Until next Tuesday night, we'll break it down. This is Shaggy Shane and the rest of the boys. Go Chiefs!
I think the Chiefs are going to win. I just like the Chiefs.
Lance made fools of us last week. Not again. We learned our lesson. We're all on the Chiefs. Go Chiefs!